on WMBD News at noon. A body is found in Peoria. What investigators know so far about that case. Also, early voting kicked off with a bang locally. The trends that one county clerk is expecting in the course of the next 2 weeks. And catching attention and encouraging reflection. We're hearing from the creator of this new mural in Central Illinois that's doing both. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Shelby Roberts. First this afternoon, a body was found in Peoria yesterday morning after a tip to police. Now, just before 10 a.m., police found a woman dead in a home on West Martin Luther King Drive. That's near Sterling Avenue. They say that she'd been dead for a significant amount of time. Right now, investigators are not calling the death suspicious, and we are still waiting to hear from the Peoria County coroner on the autopsy results. In other news, we are your local election headquarters. We've got an update to a story that we brought you yesterday. The battle of the ballot boxes is underway in Tazewell County. The Election Commission still seeing a surge in both mail and in-person ballots. The county clerk says that more than 7,000 people have been to the polls for early voting. That's up from 4,700 reported in 2016.
I'm hoping that the regular voting is going to be phenomenal too, so I thought I'd better come and kind of avoid the crowd and be able to stay safe as far as the COVID and get my vote in.
And Tazewell County Clerk John Ackerman says at least 22,000 ballots were processed and mailed out to Tazewell County voters. So far, more than 7,000 have been sent back. Budget talks continue with Peoria City Council. Tonight, council members will be attending a special meeting to discuss the revised annual budget. City Manager Patrick Urick says that the spending plan for next year anticipates $208 million of revenue and $204 million of expenses. He says the city will also be able to do more road projects with additional state funding coming in. We'll be covering that meeting tonight and bring you the latest updates on WMBD News at 10 p.m. The village of Peoria Heights will be voting tonight to determine the future of its volunteer fire department. This comes as the current chief heads toward retirement. At tonight's board meeting, board members will be voting to open a new position of a part-time fire chief. Now, according to the village administrator, Dustin Sutton, this person will try to rejuvenate the village's volunteer fire crew. This is the first step in seeing if the current volunteer system is still viable for the village. If passed, Sutton says that they will accept applications and start interviews as soon as possible. Village trustee Brandon Wisenberg says that they are looking for daytime availability, and this has been in the works even before COVID-19. Just days after the East Peoria Police Chief Steve Roque stepped down, a new chief is temporarily filling his spot. Yesterday, the East Peoria Police Department promoted Rich Broderick as the interim police chief. Along with Broderick's promotion, several other officers were promoted too. David Horn is now the interim deputy chief. Ryan Crawford was promoted to temporary sergeant, and Keith Massilia is now deputy chief. We turn now to your COVID-19 coverage this afternoon. The McLean County Health Department is reporting the 31st COVID-related death. The victim was a woman in her 90s with underlying conditions who was associated with a long-term care facility, we're told. The health department is reporting 23 new cases of COVID-19 today. At this time, 264 people are isolating at home. 15 people are in the hospital, none of them currently in intensive care. There are 3,571 people that have been released from isolation and are considered to be recovered. And Tri-County health officials are reporting more than 200 new positive cases and 6 deaths. 5 deaths reported in Peoria County and 1 in Tazewell County. All were residents living at a nursing home with an outbreak. Yesterday, Illinois health officials reported more than 3,100 cases of COVID-19 and 22 deaths in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate is still increasing for the state. It sits currently at 5.4%. Two Farmington schools are now going remote after a member of the school community tested positive for COVID-19. For at least the next week, students at Farmington Elementary and Junior High schools are transitioning to online learning. A staff member who teaches at both schools tested positive for COVID-19. Before deciding to go online, the district had students going to class in person 5 days a week. High schoolers will continue on that schedule. The superintendent says that students are screened for symptoms before they enter the doors, and he is thanking parents, staff, and students for their patience during this school year.
The way we ended last year was obviously the right thing to do to keep everyone safe, but just to be able to get excited about having staff and students back on campus for whatever time we can have them is welcomed, and we'll keep working through it.
And before the announcement of moving online, only 20% of students in the district were using online learning. Community members in Normal will now be able to address the council twice during meetings. Last night, city leaders amended the public comment policy, removing the requirement that states all comments must be about that agenda. Now, as a result, there will now be 2 public comment periods. One 30-minute session at the beginning of the meeting for any public comments related to an agenda item, and a 15-minute session at the end of the meeting for those who wish to comment on town issues not on the agenda. Well, it won't be too long before drivers in Normal will see a smoother commute. Last night, the town council took the next step on a multi-million-dollar infrastructure project. Council members voted to allocate $370,000 in motor fuel tax funds to start designing what the new West College Avenue from White Oak Road to Rivian Motorway will be looking like. In total, the project will cost $9.3 million, but the town has already received federal funds. Right now, they're just waiting on the state.
We're excited to get moving forward with design. We are hopeful that we will receive a grant award from the state for this project. That, of course, remains to be seen. So in the meantime, we are at least going forward with design, and then either when a grant is awarded or when funds permit, we'll be ready to go.
And if the town receives the $5 million grant from the state, City Manager Pam Reese says construction will start in early 2023. If not, they'll have to delay the project. The city of Bloomington is working to bring more art influence to the community. The Bloomington Committee of the Whole met last night and continued to discuss creating a 7-member public art commission. Members of the Bloomington Beautification Committee and the general public would make up the proposed commission, serving 2-year terms. The deputy city manager says that the art commission could facilitate the village getting new art, and establishing the committee would not commit the council to spend any money.
If you decide to pursue this direction or some amendment to this direction, you're not committing to spending any money or any funds as of right now. This is simply being proactive to establish a framework for supporting public art.
The committee also discussed making Juneteenth a city holiday, and that would give employees the day off. Both matters will be discussed at the next city council meeting. Well, take a look at this. There's a new mural in Bloomington that's drawing some attention. It's called Holding On to Each Other. This past summer, kids in the Bloomington Normal Boys and Girls Club were asked to write poems. Their work was combined into a larger piece, which caught the interest of local artist Bruce Clark. He made those words into a visual interpretation. Yesterday, his work that features the face of George Floyd and 2 young people talking to each other was dedicated.
It has potential to be divisive, but at the same time has potential to be constructive. And so I think the significance for me personally is that this mural signifies a voice to a very felt experience that a lot of people are sharing around the world.
And if you're interested in checking out that mural, it's on the west side of the building at 724 West Washington Street.